Welcome to this episode of Sanctum, the Conscious I Life. What is missing? Yes, what is missing? What if there is nothing missing? What if what is missing is the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new chapter? Or it is the beginning of a new chapter. Welcome to this episode of Sanctum, the Conscious I Life. What is missing? In this episode, I will be talking about truth, honesty, and release. These three have a connection in this particular episode. So, in your everyday life, they might not have a connection, but in this episode, if you listen to this episode of Sanctum, the Conscious I Life, they do have a connection. And this transmission has some messages for you when it comes to these three of honesty, truth, and release. So maybe there's things in your life that you're ready to release that you've not been aware of until you listen to this episode. It might be a relationship with other people. It might be a relationship with how you connect with yourself. It might be that you need to release things in your life that no longer serve any. This could be material things. It could be physical things. You will know as I'm transmitting this, whenever you're listening to this, you would have been sensing this over the last few weeks, maybe a few months, that you needed to release some things in your life. But maybe the courage, let's be honest, again, we're talking about honesty. Maybe the courage has not been there. Maybe you've been so busy because that's been your pattern of avoiding what needs to be released. This is a very common thing for most humans to going into avoidance where there's certain things that need to be released, but maybe one is not ready to release it. And that's okay. That's perfectly human. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is time for you to release, whether that's the relationship, whether that's a behavioral pattern, whether it's a way of being, it's time for you to release this. And the sooner you courageously release this, and you can do this with support, you can do this with maybe if you sense that it might be too much with everything you have in your life, then go work with somebody, connect with somebody that can support you as you go through this release process. Depending on what you're releasing, you might just be able to release it by yourself by actually setting aside the time and the resources to ensure that the release process is as easy for you as possible. So, whatever it is that you need to release, whoever is listening to this, it is time for you to be courageous. It is time for you to take the actions. It is time for you to stop avoiding releasing what needs to be released. It is important for you to because sometimes before we actually bring in new things or receive new things in our life, we have to release the things that are no longer in service. It doesn't mean these things are bad. It just means that they're no longer in resonance. They're no longer in service. They no longer connect to who you are or who you're becoming. So if you're listening to this episode of Sanctum, the Conscious I Life, what is missing? It is time for you to release something in your life. Be courageous, get support from somebody, work with somebody. This is part of what I do in the Bespoke Private Advisory. We've just changed the name in the Bespoke Private Advisory, where I work one-on-one with select clientele. It's a private, discreet space, and I guide and support my client to go through processes such as releasing things that might be sometimes you know, this is uncomfortable, but it's true. Sometimes we have to release a relationship, and it might be a relationship that's been a big part of our life. And to release it, we might need the support to be able to go through the process of the release with everything that might come through the process of release. So yes, I do this in the Bespoke Private Advisory, but again, you can go work with anybody that you know or connect with to support you and guide you in this process of release. The other thing I'll be talking about in the sanctum is honesty, and truth. So when we're talking about being honest with ourselves, what is, again, looking at the release, where are you avoiding? Where have you been very busy? Where have you been doing other things instead of releasing this thing that is no longer valid in your life? And where you're not telling yourself the truth? This is not judgment. This is not shaming. This is none of that. It's just really listening to where in our life are we not telling ourselves the truth? It might be that that particular diet that we're on is no longer ideal for who we are becoming. Again, sometimes the truth can be uncomfortable, but it is important that whatever stage of life you are, we humans can sometimes be hiding the truth from ourselves. Let's use that word. Because we don't want to see the truth. Because sometimes the truth is uncomfortable and it requires us to not only intellectualize the situation, but actually to change things, to move things, to take actions. And that's where there sometimes there is a disjoint between the intellectualization and what needs to happen. Sometimes it's the agreement of what needs to happen, but actually nothing is happening. So this is coming to where we're talking about truth and honesty. In what areas in your life are you not telling yourself the truth and you're not being honest with yourself? Nobody's here in the sanctum with you. And if you're listening to this with somebody, then listen to it again on your own so that you can have that privacy, that discretion, that confidentiality to be with yourself and look at, why do I need to tell myself the truth? Honestly, why do I need to be honest with myself? What do I need to release? And to put plans in place for that to happen. Again, don't make this an intellectual planning situation where nothing happens. I say this with a lot of people with perfectionism that is hiding in the background, where they will focus on everything that they want to do, they love to do, their job, their relationship, but not the things that they have to do that needs to be done. Sometimes there's things in our life that we need to do in order for us to move in the direction of where would actually be much more beneficial for us, whether that's in our job or relationship. We are all changing. And at some point, we might be going through a change where we have to release certain things in our life. And sometimes that can be challenging because we've had those things in our life for maybe all our life, maybe for a long period of time. So again, listen to the sanctum where when it's comfortable for you, but also make sure you're not just listening to it. If there's resonance, not just intellectualization, not just listening to this, but really listening to everything that is coming through. If there's resonance, if you relate, if something comes up like, oh, there's something I need to release, or this is an area I'm not being honest with myself, whether it's a behavioral pattern, then this is your opportunity to come to not just that realization, but to start taking steps and actions towards the direction of where you are headed. Honesty and truth can sometimes be uncomfortable. I know that myself, but I allow myself to be honest and truthful with myself. And sometimes releasing things that we love, that we've had for many years, for many iterations in our life, can be quite challenging. But I also know that, but it's something that I do in my own life. So this is not just something I'm talking about for anyone listening to this transmission. A lot of what I share is the way that I choose to live. I'm not just sharing things with you that are not things that I live in my life. So if this is landed, if this is resonated, if you've connected to this, if this makes sense, if there is sensations in your body that says, yes, I need to take actions. But like I said, if what you need to release is something quite deep or something that you have a strong relationship with, then my advice and my suggestion will be to work with somebody. Whoever it is that you resonate with, work with somebody that can support you in this process so that the process is easy, so that the process is less demanding on your emotions, on your psyche, on your body, on different areas of your system, even on your nervous. I don't call it the nervous system. Here we don't call it the nervous system. We call it the sensitive system because when you call something the nervous system, you are programming it to be the nervous system. So we call it here, it is a sensitive system. It's where you sense what is happening and is giving you information of how to prepare yourself or to change things in your life. So it's not called the nervous system here, but this is some of the things that you're going to be supported on, guided on by a professional. Like I said, this is what I do. This is part of what I do in the Bespoke Private Advisory. The work that I do, it's private, it's discreet, it's one-to-one, it's confidential. It's been lovely to share this episode of Sanctum, the conscious eye life. What is missing? What have we talked about again today? We've talked about release. What in your life needs to be released? And we've talked about truth. We've talked about honesty. We've talked about how the three of them connect, and we've talked about them as separate items. Truth, why you're not being truthful to yourself in your life. Again, like I said, this is not shaming, this is not judgment. We're just being real with ourselves. We're looking at things from a place of reality. Why am I not being truthful with myself? Why am I not being honest? Like I said before, I do this with myself because sometimes our psyche, our being can shift things in a way where we're not seeing the truth of a situation. So we've talked about honesty, truth, and release. It's been lovely to share this episode of Sanctum, the Conscious Eye Life. What is missing? Whenever you find this episode, there's a time for you to listen to this episode. And if you're listening to this episode, definitely this message, one part of this message, or maybe even all of this message, is for you. My name is Oluwatobiloba, and I am the founder of the Bespoke Holistic Advisory, where I work one on one with select clientele. It's been lovely to share this episode with you. Have a great day wherever you are in the world.